Frampton Comes Alive. I kept wondering why it wasn't bigger, because I'm obsessed with Peter Frampton. And then all of a sudden, Comes Alive's out. And like no other album, first of all, live albums were always kind of a throwaway for most, taking up the part of the deal, getting music out, continue to have music out there. And all of a sudden, one hit after another. And it's all the stuff you've been playing for the last 4 or 5 years, right?
Exactly, yeah.
And you're working your ass off trying to make this thing go, and all of a sudden, how many hits did you, 6 or 7 big hits off of that album?
Well, there were the big 3 to start with, and then I think, I can't remember now how many they released off that, but
a lot.
It seemed like every track was a single.
Yeah.
You know, because they were just being played so much, and it wasn't at that time. Even in the mid-'70s, it wasn't so much about singles, it was still about albums. So, you know.
And it was a double album, which there weren't that many double albums, especially a double live album.
Right.
So here it is, you know, you've had this kind of success, but not to the degree that you deserved or wanted with it, and all of a sudden you have a double live album, the thing's blowing up all over the place. Mm-hmm. At the time you were the biggest act in the world. I got to believe you were the biggest act in the world at the time, and that album today is still one of the largest selling albums of all time, but definitely one of the largest, one of the top selling live albums of all time. And then that's why I said I think back of that, and also Rockin' the Fillmore, and there's only a few live albums out there that anybody's ever done that I really listen to all the time, and those are 2 of them.
Well,
so.
Thank you. I would have to add the Allman Brothers at Fillmore.
Absolutely,
there,
and I even like the extended versions of it. And all that. And that was well recorded too.
Yeah,
you know.
that was. Yeah.
But that's why I said there's only a few out there.
Yeah.
There's actually, I like another British band, Thin Lizzy. I like their live album too. So. You know, you had all the success. You did you did the Sgt. Pepper's movie. You were everywhere. You were on the cover of every magazine. You were everywhere, and then you kind of took a break a little bit in terms of it. It wasn't you were taking a break from music. You just weren't. It looked like you didn't want to be on the front of every magazine anymore.
I didn't really. It was before the media blitz of today, like it is today. It's gone completely wild right now. But then it was, how to put it succinctly, I think that what happened was that before Comes Alive came out, people were listening to the music. They weren't necessarily looking at a lot of pictures of me. And the emphasis was on the music. And I think that when Comes Alive came out, then everybody, loads of pictures of me and everything on the front cover, and unfortunately, the image sort of changed because I guess it was very I was appealing to the young girls out there, I guess.
That's for sure.
Yeah, and
beautiful with the most amazing hair possible.
Yeah. and unfortunately, a musician's career is a lifetime, and a pop star's career is 18 months. And I was dealing with the juxtaposition of those two, and it can be very dangerous for a musician's career. And I learned the hard way. You know, I mean, I did a lot of stuff that, you know, when you've been wanting people to interview you or put you in a magazine, and then all of a sudden everybody wants you. You sort of go, oh, okay, all right. But you know, and then it got to the point where it was just way too much, and this country is really good at overexposing somebody. But I have to say that I was responsible for saying yes to all that stuff. So, you know.
Of course, we all have those things, and then, you know, the record companies want to repeat the success.
Yeah.
You know, so they're pushing you more commercialized.
And then the next record that came out afterwards, I hated, and not that I hated the songs or anything, but I hated being rushed into it, and I felt an immense pressure to, you know, everyone was saying, oh, I need the record, and I didn't need to do a record. I mean, if I'd have only realized, I always think of the Eagles at this point, because the Eagles only have, we think they've had so many more records than they have, and they have very few records out, and they would just never even get together until they had some songs to
At
play
their
each
own
other.
pace, yeah.
Yeah, it's all about the material.
Yeah.
And, you know, Comes Alive was, like you said, it was over a 6-year period of material. Now, I'm in You is something done, you know, in breaks between touring over a 3-month period. And I just didn't feel I was ready, you know. So there again, I should have just said, you know, I'm not ready. But I figured at that point, all these very experienced business people knew better than I did at that point. I'm 26 at that point, so I succumbed to you know, them pushing me into areas that I allowed it. I allowed it. I'm not blaming anybody. It's just, you know, when you're in the storm, it was so incredible. I was in this bubble of whatever that was, and you've got to be there. You had to be there to experience that storm. It was unbelievable.
But it's one of those storms that only a few artists ever experience, because it was that big of a storm.
Yeah.
It was really that big. This was not a minor thunderstorm. This was a major
Right.
hurricane.
And it's very easy to lose your way.
Yeah.
You have to be incredibly. I always wish